Major Garrett joins me now from Philadelphia. Okay, Major, in her speech, Hillary Clinton tried to draw the contrast with Trump by referencing his tirades on Twitter. Were they effective?
Well, Clinton believes they're effective, and you saw so many other surrogates throughout this four-day convention talk about not only Trump's lack of qualifications for the presidency and himself, but the lack of temperament he would bring to a job that requires so much relentless testing of the occupant of the Oval Office. And in this sense, Hillary Clinton believes, we'll find out from the voters eventually, but she believes she is qualified to speak to what the office of the presidency requires and what it demands of the person in that position, because she served as First Lady and Secretary of State and has been a part of the councils of government at the highest levels and in the toughest moments. That's why you saw repeated references throughout this convention to Hillary Clinton's role in the Situation Room, advising the president to carry out the mission against Osama bin Laden when the intelligence behind that and his location wasn't absolutely 100% clear, and there were those in the Situation Room who were doubtful it would be a good idea to execute that mission. Hillary Clinton said, "Go for it, Mr. President. My advice to you is to carry it out." And it's that prism through which Hillary Clinton wants to be evaluated as a potential occupant of the White House and the Oval Office, and also contrast that with what she said, which I think will be among the more memorable lines, probably replayed in commercials, certainly amplified by Clinton surrogates. Someone who can be baited on Twitter simply cannot be in the position of supervising America's nuclear weapons.
Okay, Major, let's look ahead to November as the conventions are over now. Do you think Donald Trump changes his campaign strategy? Does he evolve, or you think he's going to stick to what he's been doing?
Well, I think there's one interesting aspect to what you see coming out of the Trump campaign in relationship to this convention. The appeals to voters are much less cast in terms of the Republicans need to defeat the Democrats or the conservatives need to win over the liberals. And it's much more the outsiders need to take on the insiders. And I think you're going to see, and it was certainly evident last night in the email commentary that the Trump campaign put out during Clinton's speech and what Trump himself said on Twitter afterwards. Clinton is a captive of Washington. Hillary Clinton's been there for 30 years. She is immersed in all of Washington's ways, has ties to Wall Street, is the quintessential insider, if you will. And Trump wants to portray himself as the outsider, speaking on behalf of people who don't necessarily consider themselves Republicans or Democrats, but just people who feel they've lost their voice in the conversation about the direction of the U.S. economy and are worried about their security. And I talked to Rudy Giuliani, the former New York mayor, who's now a pretty prominent Trump surrogate, yesterday, and he said if this race is cast in that way and people begin to think of this less on the typical boundaries, Republican, Democrat, conservative, liberal, but more outsider versus insider, he really does believe that Trump has a chance, because he thinks there is something seething out there underneath the surface of people with so much discontent about Washington, who don't care as much about party labels or ideology, but just want something to Washington, brought to Washington, to change its ways and give them more satisfaction than they currently have. So I think that's one aspect of the Trump strategy that is becoming more evident. So in that sense, it's an evolution.
Yeah, clearly voters out there who are not happy with the way things are going. Major Garrett, thank you.
You got it.